Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Bucs will hit the road tomorrow as they play the second game of their series up in Toronto. Tip is at 5:30. And Wisconsin going to be in Milwaukee tomorrow night to take on Oklahoma in exhibition action. Tip there is at 7. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, Print.
It definitely exceeded. I mean, I try to get not too caught up in the moment, but like she said, the standing ovations is something that's special. I feel like that, something I really didn't anticipate too much. And to get that type of love and appreciation from the fans, man, I think it's cool. I mean, I think we all picture ourselves as kids, waving to, 20,000 people. And I finally got that moment today, so that was pretty cool.
Did you take a second to look around and see how many 22 jerseys were out there?
Yeah, I did. It was cool. Very special. There was still a couple 34s. But I mean, I definitely appreciate, the 22s. I think words really can't describe that part, that people, really spend their money on buying my jersey and wearing it when I'm on a different team and wearing it, to school, work, out to eat, wherever. So that's something I think my family definitely appreciates and loves. And I wish my father could have been here and seen this tonight, because I know he would have loved it also.
Fans got to see Chris again, which I thought was terrific. I thought he really handled it well. That's hard. You could tell he was trying to. I want to play well. And that's hard. The fact he'll still be able to play well, good for him.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
A little sound from both Chris Middleton and Doc Rivers talking about Chris Middleton. Returned to Milwaukee last night. Pretty cool scene. And the Bucks won. It's nice to have NBA basketball back. More sports are always better. Sometimes I get a little fatigued. I had a little bit of a crash out on Monday night. It's like, okay, so I have 2 Monday night games. I'm going to miss the start of the first. I'm going to sleep through the second half of the second. Oh, yeah, and there's a huge baseball game on. I can't watch that at the same time. Oh, and what's this? The NBA is back. Great. So sometimes I feel a little overwhelmed, but I need to remind myself, and I think you do too, sports fans, that if you can't watch, you can't watch. And luckily in the NBA, there's 82 of them things. And in baseball, there's 162. Sometimes you can't see them all. But I did catch the first 3 quarters of the Bucks game last night, most of it during Bill's huddle. It wasn't close in the fourth quarter. I'm like, I don't watch NBA blowouts. I felt that I had seen enough. And I had some things to do last night, but definitely went back, watched Doc's presser. Some really, I thought, poignant comments at the end. Doc can talk. You may question, I question his ability to coach a championship level team, but he gives a good press conference. I never really enjoyed him on Bill Simmons' podcast, but the older I get, the just less I enjoy anybody on Bill Simmons' podcast. That's not a Bill thing. I don't know. I haven't listened to it much in the last, 2 years. But Doc gives a great press conference, and I thought some really touching comments from Chris Middleton, too. You could tell last night meant a lot to him, and I think all athletes realize that at any point in their career, they can be traded. However, the more we hear from Chris Middleton, and he did Thanasis' podcast, which was actually really good. I don't normally listen to it. Again, there's only so much. There's a bajillion podcasts, and there's a bajillion games. I can only consume it all of the time. I can only get to so much. But the more Chris has talked about it and opened up about it, I don't think he expected to be traded. Chris is a smart guy. I think all athletes realize that at any point it can happen, but I think he was really surprised. So for him to have that moment and the fans be able to give him the standing ovation, a lot of Chris Middleton jerseys in the building last night. Pretty cool. So that's where we will begin. And I have some other thoughts on the NBA. Busy news day in the NBA today. Quite a bit going on. So we will address that in the opening segment. The NBA Lounge will be opened. And then we will be off and running. Justin Garcia, the Bucks Radio Network, going to join us in segment number 2 for about 10 minutes. We'll talk 4 or 5 minutes on the Bucks, 4 or 5 minutes on the scandal that hit the NBA this morning. And then we'll do the Packers probably for the rest of the show. And I'll get to your phone calls at 608-321-1670. Mike Clemens will be here in his normal Thursday spot at 5:35. He was on a Zoom with Aaron Rodgers earlier today. And I saw some quotes from that. I didn't see any audio. Maybe Mike will have some. I don't know what he's got in store for us. That's always part of the surprise. He normally emails me a bunch of sound at 5:32. So I hear that stuff and get to react to those cuts for the first time, as do all of you when you're listening. So he'll be here. And then come 6 o'clock, this is my favorite night of the week. Thorson and Heilprin out in Sun Prairie. So for our Madison listeners, WOZN, is you're getting off of work. Yeah, good place for happy hour tonight. Really good food. The coldest beer in town, the best beer in town, as Zach and Ebo always say. And I'm going to head out there after the show. So looking forward to that. Thank you for being here. The live stream is up and running. There's been some stream bugs this week. There's been a lot of bugs with a lot of internet stuff because I don't know. I'm not smart enough to understand it all, but I think Amazon Web Services was having some issues. So hopefully the stream holds up. I had to fire it up twice, but it looks like, knock on wood, we're going to be okay. And you can always stream that on our app, the Wisco Sports Zone app. And the show has a YouTube page as well. I would appreciate a subscription because it helps me make just a little bit of just a little side money, just a bit. I'm not raking in millions here. I don't ask to rake in millions, although I'm not going to turn it down. But if you would throw that a subscription, the show streams there. I post all the interviews and you can watch back the show. They're all archived there. The Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills. I don't have much to say on the Bucks. I mean, it's just one game, opening night. Very cool. Chris Middleton back. Very cool. I wish the television broadcast would have showed the tribute that was played in the building. I don't really understand why they don't do that. And I feel like I've had this experience before where I've tuned in early to a game, or I've made a point to watch a game that maybe I wouldn't otherwise. Maybe if I was busy, I'm like, well, Chris Middleton is back tonight, or, you know, whatever player's back in the building, or they're honoring this person. I don't understand why they don't show the video. And I understand that live TV is regimented and everything is broken up into segments and there's a schedule and you have to fit in advertising. And if I were to have someone on from the FanDuel Sports Network or whatever, the FanDuel channel, they would say, well, Grant, you know, it's tough because I would say, just figure it out. What do you mean? Well, it's hard to fit it. Well, you need to figure out a way to fit that in there for the television audience. It's not like it was an hour long. What was it, a minute or two? I wanted to see the Chris video, so I don't know if the Bucks posted that anywhere. I was a little perturbed throwing on the television broadcast last night and not seeing that. Like I said, I watched the first 3 quarters. I felt like I had seen enough. I had some other things to do last night. I don't like watching NBA blowouts. The Wizards are terrible. The Bucks were 10-point favorites. It's their home opener. That's a game they're supposed to win, right? I often, talk about this sort of thing, and we've talked about this as it pertains to Packers-Steelers on Sunday night. If Aaron Rodgers leads a game-winning drive and they kick a field goal and they win 33-30, I'll probably walk away from that game and I'll probably lead Monday's show by saying, sports gods. The universe works that way sometimes, right? Sometimes the sports gods and the sports universe lines up and you just go, yep, that was a game that team was supposed to win, or that was a moment that player was supposed to have. And I think that was the case for the Bucks last night, their home opener. I was excited this offseason when they added Miles Turner, not necessarily because I think they're a title team. It's still going to be a really, really tiny needle to thread if this Bucks team is going to get back to a finals. Just because they've gotten older and more expensive and they've traded away assets. They've just atrophied as contenders do over the years, especially one like the Bucks, right? They were built around Giannis and kind of Giannis only, whereas maybe a team like the Thunder or a team like the Celtics, well, if you're built with all of these young players growing together, maybe you get a little bit of a longer runway. And the Bucks had plenty of opportunities, and injuries and bad games at bad times have stung them. This is going to be a difficult needle to thread for them to get back to a finals, but when they signed Miles Turner, I'm like, okay, well, I can get excited about this. More explosive, younger, faster, more dangerous. And basically what it came down to is I was way more excited with the idea of Giannis, Miles Turner, and everyone else than I would have been with, well, we're going to just run it back and wait for Damian Lillard. Because after all, Giannis and Dame haven't been healthy together at the same time for a playoff series. It's done nothing for me. First of all, I don't think Damian Lillard's going to play this year. And maybe that's because he's in Portland and that team sucks and what's the point? And he's back with his family now and nothing's more important than family. So again, good for him. I'm happy for him. My estimation of Damian Lillard as a competitor and a champion may have taken a little bit of a dive, but I'm glad that he's happy. I just wouldn't have been excited for this Bucks team at all if the recipe for this season was, well, Giannis is going to run the point and put together an MVP regular season. And then we cross our fingers that Dame comes back. And then in the playoffs, you have Dame and Giannis. And what other team is going to have a better 1-2 punch than that? It's like, nah, that doesn't really interest me. We've tried that. Didn't work. And I didn't think that a signing or an offseason addition like Miles Turner was in the cards. So when they did that, I'm like, oh, well, I find this interesting. I find this much more compelling. I can get excited about this, even if I still don't feel great about their chances to get back to a finals. And I feel like when I watched last night, I'm like, oh, yeah, this looks like maybe I kind of hoped. For whatever that's worth, through one game against the Wizards, I'm like, okay, that's a start. This is a team that I can at least buy into and get excited to watch a couple of times a week. And in October, November, December, for now, I'm happy with that. And the Bucks would be much better off this way than they would have been with the alternative. That's about all I have to add to the Bucks. I don't know if you were on the internet at all today or you watching the news. Quite the scandal that has hit the NBA. An NBA head coach was arrested or indicted. Arrested, indicted. I think both. Arrested with plans for an indictment. I believe. I'm not a legal scholar. But Chauncey Billups, the head coach of Damian Lillard's Blazers, was taken into custody. It is alleged that he was been leaking insider information and playing poker, right? Terry Rozier, who's been flagged before for gambling and weird inconsistencies, he was arrested as well. And when I first saw all of these headlines this morning, I kind of just did the, okay, sports gambling. And I know that sports gambling is okay now, and there's a bunch of money in sports gambling. Yeah, sports betting, legalized sports gambling, DraftKings, FanDuel. Yes, I know. I'm the old man and the prude. I don't have any money. It doesn't interest me. Fine. But when I first saw these headlines this morning, I'm like, okay, just your run-of-the-mill classic 2025 gambling scandal. And then I read into it a little bit. In the year 2025, I'm seeing the FBI director and press releases and reports and transcripts that are citing La Cosa Nostra, which is the mob. I'm like, oh. And I saw a tweet. It's like, well, in all four of the crime families, the Bonanos and the Jennings, read all these. I'm like, what year is it? And then, of course, I had to make sure that this stuff was real. I'm like, am I being punked? Are we really getting good old-fashioned classic mafia headlines in the big 2025? We are. And I can give you a little bit of what Kash Patel said earlier today, this guy. And I have no political opinions on him or any other appointees. I just can't stand to listen to this dude talk. Whatever, maybe it's just a personal thing. I just really can't stand people in public speaking jobs who suck at public speaking. But here's a little bit. Again, if you've been under a rock today, this is what you've missed.
Good morning. Today, we are here in New York to announce a historic arrest across a wide-sweeping criminal enterprise that envelops both the NBA and La Cosa Nostra. This is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years. The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals today responsible for this case, which is very much ongoing. Not only did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA, but we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Cosa Nostra to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese crime families.
So I saw this. First of all, I can't stand listening to this dude talk. It's like shams. It's like, can you speak fluent? In the radio world, I have a coworker who I worked with in lacrosse for a long time. One of the most natural radio speakers and writers of radio I've ever been around. He always said, you try to talk in cursive, right? You want to blend one word or one phrase in the next. I can't listen to this guy talk. But I can't believe that we're talking about the mafia in 2025. So I can't decide if this is just another run-of-the-mill gambling scandal or if this is is this an NBA story? Is this a mob story? Is it more about dirty actors in the NBA trying to make money, or is it compromised individuals in the NBA who owe the mob and are trying to pay back their debts by I can't really decide. It's fascinating. I cut some sound from Brian Windhorst, who was on the Rich Eisen show earlier today, and I'll play that for you later. And he basically said, look, this is not Donaghy. This shouldn't be a scandal that rocks the NBA to its foundation. But it is a big deal, and the NBA is going to have some questions that they'll have to answer and things we'll have to figure out. This is fascinating. It's just another interesting wrinkle, and this is completely and totally just me. I've been rewatching The Sopranos again. Well, I haven't. I canceled all my streaming services, tightened up my finances. But The Sopranos, for whatever reason, there's like hours of this stuff on YouTube. Like if there was ever a show where it's like, I just want to consume this show, like The Sopranos there's like hour-long compilations for all these characters. And So I haven't really been rewatching The Sopranos. I've been rewatching compilations and clips. Talking about La Cosa Nostra and Phil Leotardo losing his mind. We never admit the existence of this thing. This show's 25 years old. And then I wake up this morning and start to read about what I think is just another old-fashioned gambling scandal. And then I hear Kash Patel saying it's La Casa Nostra, which is not how it's pronounced. Again, I can't listen to this guy talk. Like, what? So we'll talk about this next. I'm just going to throw this at the feet of Justin Garcia and be like, hey, Justin, can you help us explain this just a little bit? He's with the Bucks Radio Network, the Locked On Bucks podcast. And we'll talk about the Bucks, obviously, for a couple of minutes as well. And we'll have plenty of time. The rest of the show will mostly be dedicated to the Packers, unless you want to call in and talk about the Mafia or just talk about the Sopranos. I'm down with that, and then we can just leave the Packers talk to Mike Clemens at 5:35. But we will continue to hang out in the NBA Lounge. Justin Garcia, the Bucks Radio Network, will join us next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
But we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Casa Nostra to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese crime families.
Nauseating. Are you kidding me? You don't ever admit the existence of this thing. Ever. I did 20 years.
I didn't see it coming when I woke up this morning. Like, Terry Rozier has been involved in gambling. Jonte Porter has been involved in gambling. They've been suspended or disciplined. Maybe not enough. Maybe that's something that the NBA is going to have to figure out and deal with moving forward. That we knew about. prop bets. I feel like that's just going to be a thing now moving forward. I hate this expression, but I did not have the Italian mob, La Cosa Nostra. I didn't have that on my bingo card. Justin Garcia is here. Bucks Radio Network, the Locked On Bucks podcast as well. I think we have to start with, I think it would be silly to start with, I can't ask you about Chris Middleton first, right? Like we have to start with this mob thing, don't you think?
I suppose, yeah.
Okay. Is this a mob story that happened to include a couple of NBA people? Or is this an NBA story? Like how do we even start? I'm just passing the buck to you here. How do you want to start?
Oh, thank you. I'll cover the grenade here. I don't even know. I mean, did you watch? I know you've been playing the clips, but how much of the press conference did you watch?
I watched like a minute. I don't even have TikTok, but I have a TikTok brain. So I'm not 4 minutes. Wow. Are you kidding me? What am I? I'm not retired. I have a job. I'm not watching that whole thing.
Yeah, I have a job too, and I watched like 40 minutes of it.
Well, you could argue that is your job. You're locked in. You cover the association.
Well, there was one point too where I started to think like, what is trying to explain to yourself 10 years ago. Yeah. Like this would be the least of it, but this is what's happening now. At a moment when I heard them indicate the Toronto Rangers were implicated in this.
Yeah, that's right.
So like, what is even happening now? I don't know, but you know what else is interesting? When was it? Over the summer? Remember when Gilbert Arenas was brought in on the indictment and then said something about like snitching Gil is gonna come to fruition here? Like, so is Gilbert Arenas tied to this? And was he the guy that kind of indicated, hey, maybe you want to look into this too? Like, you get the sense, boy, if you live through Tim Donaghy, this feels like 2.0, and this is really going to have some ripple effects.
So it's funny. I watched Windhorst on the Rich Eisen show today for about 10 minutes, and I think he did a really good job just kind of outlining what we know. And he made the point, and I'll play this for everyone else after we're done with Justin, maybe in the next segment. He pointed out this. I don't think this is going to be Donaghy based on what we know. I don't think this is going to rock the league to its core. We already knew about Rozier. This is a couple of bad actors that were flagged by sportsbooks immediately, right? Yeah. So I don't know if now we're going to look back through dozens and dozens of games and say, well, all these games were compromised. I just think it's obviously a bad look. I guess the NBA should probably answer is why Terry Rozier was allowed to play at all. Like Jonte Porter was just done. Right, but Terry Rozier's been around.
Yeah, well, and that they cleared him too. That the NBA did their review and which also, not to be the conspiracy theorist here, but that also bodes well for the investigation that's going on with the Clippers and Steve Ballmer. If they cleared Terry Rozier and now he's arrested.
Yeah, I just another thing that confuses me. We're both just asking questions. Neither one of us, I think, have answers. What I don't get is why. Like, if you play in a mafia poker game, you don't have recourse to say they used x-ray glasses. Like, that's another thing in all of this. Like, is Chauncey Billups, is he a victim? Go to Vegas, dude. You have the money. Like, go play in a legit poker game.
But, yeah, I mean, and I suppose we should be clear, too, to your point about what Windhorst said, too, about Donaghy. Chauncey Billups is not implicated of like betting on his own team or anything like that. He was part of the gambling ring in those poker games, allegedly
he passed along information. Yes. He may have not told them to act on that information.
Damon Jones as well. And the Bucks with no involvement here, but ironically enough, a game involving the Bucks that they circled there.
Yeah. Was that the Lakers game where Anthony Davis went nuts? I watched that at County Clare. I remember that game very well. I was furious. Not important, but it was weird that I remember that.
It was quite a day to wake up and see Terry Rozier arrested. I saw it on Reddit and I saw somebody else comment of like, yeah, they got Billups too. And you're like, what are they talking about? And then like 15 minutes later, you get the text notification, the alert of Chauncey Billups also arrested. Like, wow, okay.
So here's what I said to Bill earlier. We were just spitballing, which is probably not what you should do with expansive legal stories such as this. But I said, Bill, as
long as you preface it like, hey, this is just reckless speculation, but here we go. Then you're covered. You're good.
Which I think people assume when they're listening. I hope they assume. But I wouldn't be surprised if we get a month down the road. Well, one of two things. People are going to stop caring about this in like 2 weeks. Or we're going to get a month down the road and this thing is going to be so widespread where it includes
other sports.
other sports, just famous people, where it's just the mob had their tentacles in a bunch of people, and a couple of them happened to be coaches or players. And then when those players tried to act on that, they were flagged right away.
Also, I can't wait to see the movie if we do a Molly's Game 2.0 and like who's going to play Chauncey Billups. I've never had quite as much interest in Jonte Porter and who portrays him in a film, but we'll be there. And just, is there anybody who's breathing a deeper sigh of relief right now than Steve Ballmer to think like, all right, this seems pretty big. You guys should probably deal with this. And then we can touch base later on that whole thing.
Well, Adam Silver's furious because when he learned about this, he was probably hours into working up a new format for an all-star game. And now this has to take his attention away from that, because let's talk about the Adam Silver of it all. His role as a commissioner in, let's just say, the last couple of months, but now he's got to deal with this too.
I mean, it's been quite a few months for the commissioner. He's got to deal with this. He's got to deal with the cap circumvention investigation that's going on. He has to deal with, well, I suppose he doesn't have to deal with it, but just what's looming there with are they going to expand? Are they going to expand into different countries? The comments that he's tried to and should have never left his mouth, walk back over we're a highlight league. Correct. And what that means for broadcast partners. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of come in waves here where it did feel like opening night Tuesday and seeing the package that NBC put together and how they produced the product. It just kind of like, it felt like nostalgia where you're like, oh yeah, I remember what this was like. And man, I'm just reminded that NBC takes their sports seriously and they put together professional presentations here. This feels good. So you kind of forgot all of that and forgot about the complaints that we would have about ESPN and some of Turner's coverage too. And it felt like Adam Silver was like, hey, all right, pay no attention to everything else that's going on. And now this pops up. So yeah, I mean, this is certainly nothing that's, I would assume, is going to be cleared up anytime soon. We already know the Clippers investigation, I'm guessing, isn't going to be wrapped up until well after the All-Star break. So you're going to have two very big things looming over you. And to your point, if I'm other leagues too, I'm immediately thinking of like, is this going to reach out and impact us as well? I mean, we've already seen the Shohei Ohtani thing. I was surprised that we didn't see Adam Silver immediately assign an interpreter to every single player and coach as well.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's maybe Chauncey Billups. Is he bilingual? Maybe that would help. Maybe there's an angle there for him somewhere. I just wonder, this feels like the biggest story in the world, right? This feels like this is something we're going to talk about as basketball fans forever. And I just wonder if we get a week down the road and we just get bored.
We forget about it.
Yeah. Okay. So Terry Rozier missed some shots and Chauncey Billups mentioned,
Victor Wembanyama looks like nothing we've ever seen. And we totally forget about this gambling ring.
Maybe, because that's just kind of how the world works. I don't know. But then again, like if we get a week down the road and it's like, wait, what celebrity was also at that poker game? And it just depends. I think if this is a strictly NBA story, I actually think it's a rather boring one because it's a head coach of a team that no one really cares about and a couple players that we already knew that were involved, right? But if it expands to include other bigger name players, celebrities, former players, NFL players, well, then we circle back. But at that point, it's kind of a mob story. It's no longer an NFL story, right?
I mean, I suppose. I don't even know what to make of all the ties and everything that came out from this whole thing today, and the press conference that was seemingly all over the place. Even the like, hey, we're doing the stuff that nobody wants to do. We're going after these tough guys here, and it's not anything the public wants to see. Like the public is not in favor of going after the players that are. Let me check the notes here. Jonte Porter and Terry Rozier, and
no one likes to see their heroes torn off the pedestal.
The coach of a team that hasn't made the playoffs in 5 years. Like there's public outcry over this.
What will all the kids in Terry Rozier and Jonte Porter jerseys do? This is like killing Santa Claus. Yeah, I didn't hear that part of the presser, but that's funny. Justin Garcia is here, Bucks Radio Network. Good looking team last night. That had to be a good start. That had some good signs, right?
Well, it was everything you wanted to see because you get the Wizards, so you expect to win. And, for what I was just looking at it, I think 14 possessions that you had your starters on the floor, that looked really good. Unfortunately, the old friend returned, and that is injuries for the Bucks. And now we just wait and see how serious it is for Kevin Porter Jr. But they looked very good, like the proof of concept that we saw. And John Horst talking about small sample size, but we believe in it. And you could see that there was ball movement. There was guys moving without the ball. The defense seemed to fit too. They were creating turnovers and getting out and running. It helps when you hit a lot of threes too. So you liked what you saw there, and some parts that you'd like to clean up in the second half. But I still point out for the parts that didn't look great, and you think like, look, you did that against the Wizards. Like you kind of got to clean that up going forward. I mean, you still got to point out they didn't have their point guard for the final 3 quarters of the game. And yes, Giannis is the point center, point forward guy, but you still need that other guy to organize things. You had Terry Rozier. You had Kevin Porter Jr. go down with the injury. Cole Anthony comes in. I thought he looked good too, but picks up 4 fouls in 4 minutes where you're constantly in foul trouble and asking Ryan Rollins to kind of play out of position. So a lot of the things that you felt were clunky, this needs to improve, I think is valid, but I think that's a big caveat to add to what we saw.
And you think the investment in AJ Green is a good one, and that's a player who can continue to kind of refine his skill set and grow as a player for this team?
Yeah, I mean, annually he's earning less money than what Duncan Robinson signed for in the offseason. That I think it's a very good value contract. He is an elite shooter, and I think he's good defensively. That doesn't mean he's all defensive caliber player, but he holds up defensively. He added bulk in the offseason. You can see he's able to take on some more physical assignments. He's going to be picked on defensively by most teams, probably for the first half of the season for, the obvious reason when you look at him of let's go attack this guy. But I think that's slowly going to start to change when teams see, okay, I guess he isn't as much of an easy target as we thought.
All right. Well, I look forward to following this team and the scandal if it grows. I'm going to keep watching The Sopranos. It's just, I find it all very entertaining. Sorry to bring you on and be like, hey, what do you think about this massive, very complicated legal scandal? But this was excellent, Justin. I appreciate your time.
Anytime.
Yeah, have a good one. We'll have to do something. Justin is also our jam band correspondent. I think we have to see a show or something. I'm trying to get Ebo to get tickets to Green Sky Bluegrass next week. They're at the Sylvie. It's not a band. I was like, I have to be there. But I'm like, it's a Thursday night. I got nothing else going on. What's new? Might as well go. Appreciate Justin's time. That'll be on the YouTube page, which, again, I would love for you to subscribe to. Neither one of us are Rhodes legal scholars here, if you can't tell. When we come back, if you have thoughts on the Bucks or about this scandal in the NBA, we can continue to talk about it. Otherwise, I have some Packers-Steelers thoughts, which are probably going to consume most of the rest of the show.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
I hate to bring up the name. This is not
Donaghy.
like Tim Donaghy.
Yeah.
This is sloppy stuff that that they need to be tightened down. I know the people who are going to attack the league and people who are against gambling are going to be able to hammer on this, and there's some points to be made there. I do not think this is going to rock the NBA to its foundation, based on the information that I have. Obviously, more information could come out,
Right.
but it is definitely very interesting, particularly the poker aspect of it.
Certainly, you know, it involves a head coach as well, Brian. I mean, that's particularly
It
shocking.
involves inside information about whether a player is going to play.
Right.
I think the key is, did Chauncey tell the guy and say, go make a bet on the game?
Got it.
Or did Chauncey tell the guy because he was having loose lips and then that guy went out and made money on it?
Understood.
That's the question. I don't know the answer to that, but that nuance is going to be important.
That's Brian Windhorst, Rich Eisen earlier today. Someone's going to have to explain to me why that last part is important. Well, I shared inside information, but I never told you to do anything with it. Versus, hey, here's inside information. Go do something with it. That seems like a technicality. I feel like both things are bad. But then again, shocking for you to hear, I'm sure. I'm not a lawyer. So I can take your thoughts on this if you'd like. It's a very entertaining story, if nothing else. Chauncey Billups sharing inside information, but also tied to illegal poker games. Chad Millman of Sharper Squares with the Volume, used to be with the Action Network for a long time, tweeted this today. Details of the rigged poker games that Damon Jones and Chauncey Billups were involved in from the U.S. Attorney's press conference. X-ray machines built into tables to read face-down cards, contact lenses and glasses that read pre-marked cards, and secret cameras in card trays. What I find funny. And again, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm confused. The Mafia was running an illegal poker game, and they were cheating in the poker game. Am I supposed to clutch my pearls over this? You want to play poker, go to Vegas. I don't know. The Mafia was ripping me off. That's kind of, hey, that's kind of their thing. That's kind of what they do, man. I don't know. I'll take a phone call here. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant, is it safe to say that Chauncey Billups' watch has ended and he'll be coaching the Valhalla Bolts next season?
Probably. He seems cooked. Well, and what's weird is, Cone, he's had previous, like, scandals for, was it domestic abuse or sexual assault? Like, he has a checkered history as a character. And now we learn he's playing illegal poker games, giving inside information. Like, what a debacle.
Yeah, this is just funny to me. Good entertainment.
Me too.
The NBA, it's a storyline league. It's not usually the on-court performance that gets talked about. It's always about MVP race and trade deadline and all this. And this is very fitting. And Adam Silver, is he compromised in all of this as well? I mean, do you have to look at making the change to the NBA commissioner?
It's just, I just don't think he's done a very good job. He comes out and says, well, fans, Adam, they're having a difficult time watching your sport. And he goes, well, it's a highlight sport. It's like, dude, are you kidding me? You have a television partner that just paid tens of billions of dollars to carry your sport. And you're like, well, it's a highlight sport anyways. Why do you need to watch? Like, are you nuts? And also, he's obsessed with his all-star game. Well, this wasn't any good. So now we're going to go to U.S. versus world. It's like, hey, man, it's an all-star game. Like, can you just chill? Like, no one cares that much. People complain. Cone, you know how this works. Sports radio on Monday complains about the Pro Bowl and the all-star game, and then we don't think about it the rest of the year. That's how it works.
I'm more mad at him for the dunk contest, frankly.
Yeah.
And that used to be must-see TV.
Yeah.
And now it's like, these guys are all like on two-way contracts.
Can I just say, and I think you're going to agree with me on this. This is what I'm going to talk about next. I don't understand why so many Packers fans, Cone, are saying, oh, Rodgers can say what he wants, but deep down we know that he hates the Packers and he's holding a massive grudge for Sunday. Folks, I'm telling you, I listened to his presser earlier today. I don't think he is. I don't think there's any animosity. People are like, well, he wants to win Sunday. Duh, of course. Of course he wants to win, but I don't know. I saw you tweeting about this too. Like, I don't understand why people need to make Aaron Rodgers a bad guy. It's very fatiguing and it's very weird.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of the carryover from the Rodgers brain melt people experienced in, November of 2020. I think they're still upset about that for some reason, and they still need a reason to think Rodgers is holding this grudge. But I think he's turned a leaf. He's enlightened now, clearly. He has seen God, or his God at least. And he's turned a leaf, and he's much more spiritual, much more, in touch. So, I think what Rodgers has said these last couple of days is from the heart. It's honest. And, it's up to us to either take that or leave it.
So I agree with you, Cone. I appreciate the call. Thank you for chatting. The quote that I saw from Rodgers today, and I think, I can't guarantee this, but I think Mike Clemens might have, if nothing else, some commentary on this. He might even have some audio, because I believe he was on the Zoom with Rodgers earlier today. But if not tonight at 5:30, then I'd bet my bottom dollar that in the final hour of Bill's show tomorrow, we'll get a little bit of this from Mike. I don't have the audio or the video, but I have some quotes. And Rob Domofsky's ESPN tweeted this today. One more from Rodgers' Zoom. Quote, this one would mean a lot more if it was in Lambeau, just because of the affection I have for that place and the hallowed ground of Lambeau Field and all the amazing memories that I have there over the years. He also, Aaron Rodgers on a Zoom with Packers media, quote, feels so good about my time there because damn near everything great in my life is because of my football career. And my football career starts and will end one day with Green Bay. So I have a lot of love for all those memories. I just don't understand, Pete Bukowski and others, why folks on the internet this week are intent on making Rodgers this angry, vindictive guy. Now, of course, Rodgers has always had a chip on his shoulder for this, that, and the other thing. That's how the greats motivate themselves. And obviously, he would prefer to win. These guys want to win every single football game. This is the NFL. These are all massive. It's on Sunday Night Football. Obviously, he wants to win. I'm not telling you that Rodgers going into Sunday night, well, it'll just be a great feel-good night. The game is almost secondary. No, clearly he wants to win. Duh. So stop telling me that. Yes, he wants to win. there's so many people on the internet like, Rodgers can say what he wants, but deep down, you know that he's a grudge-holding rat bastard. It's like, no, I don't know, man. I'm watching the interviews and listening to the audio. He seems like he's in a pretty good spot. Seems like he's pretty happy in Pittsburgh. It's going well over there. Seems like he understands that at some point it was going to come to an end in Green Bay. And yeah, maybe the last year or so wasn't perfectly clean. Point to me a breakup that was just perfect. Sports or otherwise. Even the most amicable breakups, there's at least a moment or two where it's like, there's a moment where it's at least a little uncomfortable. Yeah, it was a little uncomfortable at the end. It's a breakup. But as Rodgers said yesterday, the distance or time makes the heart grow fonder. I'm telling you, folks, I don't really believe there's animosity. When he says there's not, I believe him. And so many people want to villainize him. And I've been annoyed as hell by Rodgers at times. If you listen to the show, there's been days where I have to rant and rave about something that he did that annoys the piss out of me. But I don't know. Seems to have a lot of his words, love and affection and appreciation and blah, 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 all those buzzwords. Yeah. I think this is just a good, wholesome, traditional, storyline-ridden matchup. I don't know that there's a lot of grudges. Well, the front office, though. I don't know. The front office, Brian Gutekunst isn't down on the field. What do you want? Do you want Rodgers to hate us? Do you want to hate Rodgers? If you want to do that on your own time. I'm dealing with facts, all right? And the facts are what Rodgers has said, and we've heard and watched the videos, and I think he's coming across as pretty genuine here. Ricky Pickle on the live stream says Bukowski is the biggest Rodgers hater out there. I don't know what's going on with Pete there. I think it would be disingenuous to say that he's not on some level a Rodgers hater. I just think, between you and me, I think Pete just needs to tweet about absolutely everything and have an opinion on absolutely everything, where sometimes it's just okay to say, that's kind of a nice comment from Rodgers. And then we go about our day. Imagine that in 2025. All right, one call here, and then we'll take our last break of the hour. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hi, Grant. This is Ron from Madison.
Hey, Ron. What's going on today?
Hey, I'm fired up for the game Sunday night.
You should be. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, and I don't hate Rodgers. But I want the Packers to win. Once the game kicks off, forget about all this other stuff. It's the Packers and the Steelers, and I just want the Packers to go out there and kick the you-know-what out of the Steelers.
Well, it would be a huge game. Like, just forgetting about the Rodgers of it all, Ron. They kind of hung around with some teams that they were big favorites over the last 2 weeks. If they go on the road and stick it up the Steelers' rear end and win by 13, 17 points, like that would be their signature win of, maybe not of the year because the Lions win week one's pretty big, but that would be a massive win.
Hey, just go out, play good ball, and win the game. And then after that, everybody else can talk about whatever.
I like that. I think that's a good take. I appreciate you, Ron. Ron becoming a pretty established caller here. I've enjoyed it. I have a cut somewhere of Matt LaFleur doing the classic, this is about Packers Steelers. This isn't about, the classic. This isn't about Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. This is about the Packers versus the Steelers. They just happen to have Aaron Rodgers playing quarterback. Where's this cut? I'm very organized. I'll get it here. Just give me a sec. We listened and laughed at this last night. It's just kind of funny because coaches feel like they need to shoot down narrative. That's just a narrative. That's just something that you guys write about. It's like, oh, well, it's kind of the big story of the game, though, coach. It's what they're going to be talking about on the television broadcast. It's what fans are going to be talking about all week. Here's Matt LaFleur on that.
I don't even know if many of these guys played with him. So, there's a few guys, but I think that's just, it's for you guys. I'm going to talk about how we, just like we do every week, what is our blueprint and what are our keys in order to go to Pittsburgh, which is a damn good football team and a really tough, hostile environment, and try to play our best.
And one more, it's about the Steelers, not their quarterback.
We're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, who happen to have Aaron Rodgers. It's as simple as that. That is for you guys to talk about. We've got a lot of respect and love for Aaron. What he's done here is a Hall of Famer. Like our past together, we had a lot of great moments, but this game is not about that. It's about going to Pittsburgh, Sunday Night Football. Our guys will be jacked up. Their guys will be jacked up. It's about the Green Bay Packers versus the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Classic coach speak. And I do find it entertaining, but it's a little exhausting too, man. It's like, it's a cool story. You can at least, you can give us that. You can give the writers that, write that in your story. All right, 3 minutes. I'll get to some of your texts. A little potpourri in the last segment. A couple things that maybe have fallen through the cracks through the first 3 segments. We'll address it next before we break for Zach's update at 5 o'clock.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Zone Blitz pregame bash is back. Every Wisconsin home game 2 hours before kickoff at the Blue Moon Bar and Grill. And this year, do I have something special for you? It's a perfect snack for game day or any day. Wenzel's Farm Pro Snack Sticks. Come see me and I'll hand you 16 grams of protein to fuel you through the day. Wenzel's Farm offers that and so much more, crafted in small batches using premium cuts of meat, perfectly seasoned, and naturally hardwood smoked. Check out wenzelsfarm.com. Made by pros for pros.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Sports gambling was always something that was completely verboten. It was something that was sort of in the shadows. It was something that leagues stayed far away from. It was something that networks like ESPN would stay far away from. Those days are obviously long behind us. You hear a lot about legal sports gambling on this show. The Bussin' Boys, obviously sports gambling is a huge part of what you do, so we put those all out there as a preamble because it might be in the back of people's minds, and we acknowledge that this is a different time and place. However, there is a fine line, not so fine, there is a bold line that obviously has to be drawn between legal sports gambling when it comes to the public and anything that might infiltrate into locker rooms and into teams. And it is, we all knew it was going to be a complication.
That's Mike Greenberg this morning. I'm not entirely sure what that rant was for on Get Up. Maybe just trying to cover some bases and be like, hey, I know that we talk about gambling a lot. They also had the ESPN Bet ticker running across the bottom of the screen. Look, legalized sports gambling, legalized sports gambling has opened many cans of worms, okay? I don't think, I know legalized sports gambling is not what caused this scandal because it took place through the mob. Now, unless the Bonanno family is just like ripping DraftKings, kind of the whole thing with the mob, isn't it? They run their own books, or they have for a long time, right? This kind of stuff was happening. I heard Cowherd's open today. He was talking about what went down at UNLV with Tarkanian. There are always rumors and the fixes and the casinos, like all of that stuff. This stuff has been going on forever. I don't think legalized sports gambling has led to necessarily a huge influx in stories like this. I think we hear more about them. We're more attuned to them because gambling is discussed in ways that it never was before. I will say this. What sports gambling has done and what it has led to is me being annoyed as hell all the time. You want to gamble? Fine. I can't tell you how many people I know, friends or whoever, where it's like, you're in the hole. You've spent how much? Like, what's going on with you, buddy? Like, that's something that, and we all got our own problems. We all got our vices. It's like, maybe the vice that's an app on our phone that allows us to gamble our entire life away, like maybe that could be problematic. I don't know. Do it on your own time, I guess. Maybe one day if I have mountains of money, maybe I'll have a little fun. Put a 20 on the Packers every Sunday. I'm also, this has been a theme this week. I'm also annoyed with what's going on with the Amazon Web Service outage. I was talking about this with Ebo the other morning. I read a story, and maybe it was fake news. I don't know. Another thing that annoys the hell out of me is AI slop and, rage bait headlines and all this stuff on the internet. But like, I read a story of how people had smart beds, Amazon smart beds, beds that go up and down and climate controlled and all this stuff. And they were stuck in an upright position because of the AWS outage. It's like, hey, man, all these things that are seemingly issues in our life seem kind of like they're issues of our own creation. Like maybe putting internet in our mattress was something that maybe we didn't need that. I don't know if that's something that you love. Well, granted, it helps me stay comfortable. I don't know. Buy different sheets, man. I don't know. I don't think legalized sports gambling has opened up professional sports leagues to that many more scandals. I actually think, and proponents of legalized gambling would argue this, and I think there's some truth, it actually controls it. It regulates it so this stuff is caught. And by the way, Terry Rozier and the inconsistencies there, and same with John T. Porter, it was flagged right away. Now, it doesn't always come out right away, but it was flagged right away. So that's probably good. I just get annoyed hearing about it. And then we have to have Greeny go on ESPN to explain, like, yeah, I know it looks bad because we talk about gambling a lot, and we got the Bussin' with the Boys guys right here, and they love lighting their money on fire. And also at the bottom of the screen, we have our Bet ESPN ticker. It's like, dude, we have created a parody life for ourselves. We've done it to ourselves. Hour number 2, we get a quick update, 2 minutes from Zach Heilper. No commercials. Stay right here. Just the latest in Wisconsin sports. Be right back.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers are gearing up for their trip to Pittsburgh on Sunday to face Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. It'll be the first matchup between Rodgers and the guy that replaced him in Green Bay, Jordan Love. The latter got to sit behind Rodgers for 3 years, and the two became friends. Still, Love says Sunday's game really isn't about them.
At the end of the day, I think it's another game. I think obviously going into this week, it's going to be one of those, very talked about matchups. Obviously, just from my time with A-Rod and his time with the Packers. So it's something that's going to be, hyped up. But at the end of the day, it's another game. I'm going against the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. He's going against Green Bay Packers defense.
Injury-wise, it appears as if the team will not have Dontavian Wicks on Sunday. Wide receiver not expected to practice this week. As for Christian Watson, he says he plans to play Sunday as he returns from a torn ACL, but Coach Matt LaFleur says that will be a medical decision. Again, it'll be the Packers and Steelers on Sunday. Kick is at 7:20. Turning to Wisconsin, they will head to Oregon tomorrow. It's where they will face the 6th-ranked Ducks on Saturday night. Badgers have lost 9 straight Big Ten games, 32.5-point underdogs in the game. Kick is slated for 6.
Rural Mutual Insurance.
keeping Wisconsin strong.
When a company only does business in Wisconsin, that's Wisconsin Strong. Rural Mutual provides all lines of insurance, including commercial, farm, home, and auto. And your premiums stay right here to keep Wisconsin strong. Local agents, local underwriters, local claims adjusters.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Bucks are 1-0 after opening the season with a win over Washington last night. Milwaukee will now hit the road tomorrow night to face Toronto. Tip is at 5:30. As for the Badgers, they're going to be holding an exhibition game tomorrow night at Fiserv Forum against Oklahoma. Tip there is at 7. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
It definitely exceeded. I mean, I try to get not too caught up in the moment, but like she said, the standing ovations is something that's special. I feel like that, something I really didn't anticipate too much. And to get that type of love and appreciation from the fans, man, I think it's cool. I mean, I think we all picture ourselves as kids, waving to, 20,000 people. And I finally got that moment today, so that was pretty cool.
Did you take a second to look around and see how many 22 jerseys were up there?
Yeah, I did. It was cool. Very special. There was still a couple 34s. But nah, I mean, I definitely appreciate, the 22s. I think words really can't describe that part, that people, really spend their money on buying my jersey and wearing it when I'm on a different team and wearing it, to school, work, out to eat, wherever. So that's something I think my family definitely appreciates and loves. And I wish my father could have been here and seen this tonight, because I know he would have loved it also.
Fans got to see Chris again, which I thought was terrific. I thought he really handled it well. That's hard. You can tell he was trying to. I want to play well, and that's hard. And the fact he's still be able to play well, good for him.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Funny text here I got over the break. This is from Jim in Cottage Grove. It says, first of all, Grant, you have to stop saying there are no commercials during Zach's update, because there are commercials playing. Second thing, do you suppose Christian Yelich is with the mob? That's why he plays so bad in the playoffs. Ha, ha, ha. Well, when I say no commercials, it's flexible. There's not a commercial break. They're tucked in there, some of our proud sponsors, in a way that's more digestible. Like that Capital One ad in the 9th inning of Game 7 of the ALCS the other night. That's another thing. Sports gambling, internet in your mattress, and Capital One ads in between pitches, Game 7. But folks, it's worth it, because at least somewhere, someone who's very rich is becoming more rich. Excellent. That's not political commentary. That's just good old-fashioned complaining, and I'm entitled to do that. It's my show. I hold the microphone. It's hour number 2. Mike Clemens in 35 minutes. Thorson and Heilprin in now less than an hour. And man, I'm fired up, because I'm going over there to Sun Prairie tonight to hang out at Monk's. And you should as well, if you're a member of our WOZN audience here in Madison, our affiliate, our flagship station. Get over to the east side. Maybe I'll get some wings. Maybe I'll get a burger. I don't know. Probably take advantage of some happy hour deals. I might be there a little bit late for that. Maybe I'll have Zach sneak an order in for me, and then it'll just be waiting for me when I get there. But topics that we've been discussing, this NBA scandal is wild. So if you have thoughts on that, more than happy to keep talking about it. We can also continue to kind of get ready for Packers-Steelers. A little bit of audio, some Aaron Rodgers comments to play, and I would also like to circle back to something that Mike Renner said last night. So all of that is on the board. I'll take your phone calls in order. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Man, Grant, we need to have a Bring Your Sports Talk Radio host to work day, because I had a long editorial conversation with the journalists over at CIO Dive, which is one of the publications I work for.
Okay.
And these guys are journalists on the ground covering all things enterprise technology, all of the different ways AI is shaping the life. And there's like kind of an older gentleman who's, probably likes to talk about rural highways in Midwestern states, probably would be really interested in talking about shipwrecks. And he comes on the editorial call and he's just like, man, all this sucks. Like, we used to cover like game breaking, like really cool technology that actually changed the way businesses functioned.
Yes.
Now we're just talking about gimmicks, man.
Yep.
Like, we're talking about the Phil Longo. We're talking about the Jeff Grimes, like, line formations before we even get to the snap of the football, gimmicks in enterprise technology, not the jet sweep or the old school things that really changed the game.
The flying car is the thing that people always reference. I thought we'd have flying cars by now. I don't necessarily need a flying car. Also, is that even something we're working on? For as much as it's referenced as a
yes,
we are working on it. Okay,
I can give you three companies to invest in today.
Well, again, investing
I don't want to go
also
full.
Also something I don't need to do. Here's the thing. I don't need internet in my dishwasher. I certainly don't need it in my mattress. Is there nothing more productive we can be doing? That we have the full computing power and heft of Amazon Web Services, which is, I don't even know what that is, but apparently it matters because it effed everything up this week. And people are using it in appliances. I never needed that. I never once needed that. Why? Energy efficiency, that would be great. Let's work on that. Instead, we're putting Bluetooth in I almost just swore that we're putting Bluetooth in a immersion blender. And for what? Why? We live in the stupidest timeline.
I will say I did run a full tailgate with about 12,000 watts of sound for 10 hours off a solar panel. That felt cool.
Great.
I was like, we need more of this in 2025.
Why not?
But,
that's a good example.
Just on sport or on gambling real quick, gambling is meant to be done in person. It's not meant to be done on apps. I think at some point we just got to nip that in the bud. I think you're spot on with all your buddies that are getting addicted to the phone apps. Sports betting, just not something that's ever really, I tried it and I do it once in a while. I play fantasy football and that's adjacent at least. It's just not for me, but I understand why it's addicting. But I tell you what, man, you fly yourself out to Treasure Island, you stay a couple of nights at Las Vegas and you belly up to the craps table, I'm all in on that. So that's kind of my line in the sand when it comes to gambling. Speaking of which, I was at the craps table this week talking to a Pittsburgh fan. And this is a CMO of a company in Pittsburgh. And he just goes all in, of course. I'm just like, man, this is a marketing dream for the NFL, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, talking about this matchup and talking about all the hype behind it. And Grant, I think I just lost track of how many weapons the Packers have. And I think my biggest concern when I put the poll out a couple of weeks ago of like, which side of the ball do you think can lead this team to a Super Bowl? I think the offense is still kind of figuring itself out. I think if you're a Packers fan, that's got to be exciting. Hearing Christian Watson come back, right? Hearing, Reed hasn't made an impact yet this season. And so obviously we all pouring out for our boy Marshawn Lloyd. We've talked enough about him, RIP. Really wish that draft pick was anybody but him. But, you think about all the weapons that could make an impact down the stretch. And, man, if you're a Packer fan, you got to be excited. I just look at this team and I'm excited, man. So I think all the doom and gloom is, unwarranted at this point. Really excited for Sunday Night Football. Well, there's a couple doom and gloomers, every game, halftime, everybody's freaking out. It's how we consume.
Well, those people, sure. Vagabond John, I got to run because we got loaded phone lines. Appreciate it. Those people, yeah. Here, I guess, when you talk about all the weapons coming back, and I'll go right back to the phones here because we got one other person waiting. I know Vagabond John went for a minute there. They can't all play. So let's assume everybody gets healthy and everybody is back. If they're running a 3 wide receiver set, is it Matthew Golden, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs? Or is Jaden Reed in there? Because instead of thinking of, well, they have 6 guys and I love them all. Okay, well, let's talk about it's 3rd and 6 and the Packers are up 3 with the ball with the chance to win a playoff game in the divisional round. Who's on the field? Because when we get down to brass tacks, that's really what we're talking about. Do you like their top 2-3 guys? I do. But let's all be clear, they're not on the level that some other teams are. Nakua and Adams would be better. Higgins and Chase in the AFC, I'm just throwing out examples. So that's kind of why earlier this week, I'm like, are we sure that we should be expecting this offense to score 40 a week right now? That whole thought process. I think the offense has some things to figure out. I think it starts with the O-line, as we've discussed. And I actually think Pittsburgh might give them a good opportunity to do that. We'll talk about that in the next segment. And we'll set that up with something that Mike Renner said last night. But back to your phone calls here. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Alex and Madison.
Hey, Alex, what's up?
Hey, I'll keep it quick for you. I think with the whole NBA gambling scandal, I'm not a huge proponent of sports gambling being so mainstream. You listen to the radio, there's a sports gambling ad. ESPN, we talked about the ticker, right? It's on the bottom of the screen.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think this is healthy at all. And I agree with the previous caller. That should be something that should be done in a casino. It should not be up in your face. Oh, let's talk about the line. Let's talk about the over. You watch the pregame shows. they're like, oh, we don't know if this team's going to cover or not. Why is that like on ESPN or NBC? Like, why is that acceptable?
It's interesting for lots of people. Like, if you're into that thing, there used to be, it used to not be so mainstream. Alex, that's a great call. You would listen to VSiN, which I guess is still a recent creation, but you could find those shows and you could find those podcasts and things. Sure. And now it's on television. To be honest, I've never really looked at Get Up or First Take as this bastion of like high level entertainment. First Take back with Skip and Stephen A. Smith, like the Monday after a huge Cowboys game at 3:30. Like that was fun. But I'm not going to sit here and be like, I hate that Get Up is besmirched with gambling talk, because at the end of the day, who really cares? Unless you're a diehard Get Up watcher, then I guess I don't want to insult your favorite TV show. I think there are some things that are more fun when they're not super mainstream. You know what I mean? Like, I think sports gambling, the idea that it should be done special occasions at a casino with friends, sure. Now, if you really, really love gambling, and some people, like, I don't even want to say that like they're career gamblers, but like if that's your number one hobby, I could see why that would, the ability to do it anywhere on your phone would be nice. But I think for a lot of people, it's like, well, maybe we go to a casino, maybe we go to Vegas once a year for March Madness. I know Big Ron does that. There's also like, go to Diamond, is it Diamond Jim's or Diamond Joe's down in Dubuque? Like you can drive there from La Crosse. You can drive over to Treasure Island. If you're northwestern Wisconsin, we have Ho Chunk or Oneida in central and northeast Wisconsin, Potawatomi, obviously. So it's doable. It's not like you have to get on a flight to go gamble. The fact that it becomes mainstream, it's like, did we ruin it? I was tweeting about someone with this earlier today with weed too. Like weed used to be, I don't want to say it used to be cool, but it used to be this cool thing. It was kind of hush hush. And now it's like, okay, go to Sunshine Dispensary down in Beloit, and it's off the interstate, and you go in there and it's like, hey, you can spend $300 for a half ounce of weed that will incinerate the inside of your body because we put so much THC into it. Like once upon a time, you used to roll up ditch. You would drive around Viroqua until you saw a bunch of it in the ditch. You'd grab some, you'd roll it up in a napkin, and you'd sit and you'd listen to Willie Nelson. And nobody cared if it was a sativa or an indica. They would just smoke it and have fun with their friends. And now we got to have podcasts about our favorite types of weed and craft beers. I don't even know what I'm saying. Just hate it. We've created such a dumb world for ourselves. Lots of good things in the world, too. Tyler in Massachusetts, good point on live stream. I love Nick Costos. You bet. He's been doing it a long time. His content is really, really good. I like Nick Costos. I've asked him more than once at the Super Bowl to come on, but his show is kind of overlapped. I would like to get him on in San Francisco this year because that guy's awesome. And again, if you can talk gambling and get me to listen, even though I'm not gambling, that just means you have a baller show. It's the same with fantasy. Like the Ringer Fantasy Football guys are great. I don't need fantasy football content. I have my team and I'll try my best, but I'm not studying in my free time. But they're just great. So I'll listen to them talk about fantasy. 608-321-1670. Rick and Spencer says, I miss brown weed. Yeah, I miss when it wasn't the color of Buzz Lightyear's suit. Like, yeah, I'm with you there. Wisco Sports Show. Who's us? Hello.
Hey, Grant, it's Jeremy. How you doing?
Good, Jeremy. What's up?
Oh, I wanted to talk to you actually about football. I really did, but there's been so much talk today about what's going on with this other stuff, and I get it, I really do. But I wanted to make a point here because we knew that there was always two sides to this fence. I just want to point out to a lot of people that are, gambling should only be in person, and it just takes you down this evil road. I'm just going to put this out there that sports betting and gambling in general, I get it. It's always had a negative stigma, but literally for a lot of people, it's better than the stock market.
Yeah,
like,
I suppose.
How many people sit there? I have kids that are invested in the stock market up to the wazoo, and I have stocks. I literally trade. I do all that stuff, and that's completely legitimate. But if you look at sports betting through that lens, it's the same thing. You're just looking at odds. You're looking at numbers, and you're saying, "Hey, I'm hedging a bet." That's it. That's all you're doing. Like, I think this is going to do well. The difference is that it's instant gratification. Like, you're going to get your answer now. You don't have to wait 3 months or 6 months to find out whether or not a stock is going to do well or it's going to realize gains. You're looking at it like, I'm going to find out tonight after the game is over whether or not I won or lost.
Interesting.
So
thought
a
about
lot of people do that. And that's how I look at it. Like if I'm looking at a game and I say, hey, I've done my homework and I found out all these numbers, I found out I did all my homework and research, and I think that this is the best way to go with it. And they do that and they're smart with it. A lot of people have made a lot of money and they've made it quickly. That's why this scandal makes such a big deal, because now people can't trust it. That's the only difference between sports betting and Wall Street. But do you think for 10 seconds that Wall Street's not manipulated on a daily basis? It happens all the time.
No, it is. And Jeremy, I appreciate the call. I just got one more call I want to get to before this break. So we'll chat tomorrow or early next week if you want to call back. Look, let me be clear. I don't think that gambling necessarily takes you down a bad path. I'm not anti-gambling. I don't want the issues that are created by gambling to now become a problem that I have to deal with. Do it on your own time. That's what I'm saying. I don't know that the stock market, I don't know that that's a great comparison. The stock market is quite a bit sturdier. Now you get instant gratification in gambling, but the idea of the stock market is you don't get instant gratification and you grow over time. Now, if you want to short stocks and day trade, then that's similar to sports betting. But if you want to put however much money into growth stock mutual funds and then let it sit there for years, that's a little different. I don't know that that's apples to oranges, maybe apples and bowling balls. One more call here, and then we got to get to a break because I don't want to be late for Mike Clemens. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Good afternoon, Grant. It's Badger Bloody Review.
Hey, what's up, Badger Bloody? I bet you have some strong opinions on these topics.
I do, and I'm going to try to just kind of hit the surface of all of them. Wasn't really going to call in, but Vagabond John had such a great call. I had to call in and sort of piggyback on some of the things that he said. And I was thinking about it while I was on hold here, and I think what we're getting at with weed, with sports betting, is we've lost the ritual, Grant. These things used to have a ritual about them. You had to go to the bookie, you had to call the bookie, you had to go to the bar and get the parlay card. You had to, hide your box under your bed and wait till your parents were gone. You had to go for a walk with your cousins on Thanksgiving. It wasn't just this accessible thing. And now you can rip a vape in the middle of Target. It's going to get you on the moon in about 30 seconds flat. You can whip out your phone while watching a Monday night doubleheader and live bet just about anything you want. And I think the lack of the ritual is, all other negative or positive aspects of either thing aside, the main thing that we're missing out on here.
I love this. This is a great point. And sometimes the fact that you can't do it makes the ritual all the sweeter, right? The fact that I can't get on an airplane and go to Vegas, or can't get together with friends and go to Dubuque, the fact that I can't do that whenever I want is kind of what makes it fun. It's something to look forward to. It's something to celebrate.
Right. A little treat for yourself. And I do want to say specifically on the topic of gambling, and I will preface this by saying I am an avid sports bettor. It's one of my favorite hobbies. I love it. But I absolutely hate how mainstream it has become. I agree with all the other callers have said so far, that the commercials, how in your face it is, everything being sponsored by BetMGM and DraftKings. I do think it's a net negative on society because it is predatory on people that don't necessarily always know exactly what they're doing. And these sign-up bonuses that they're offering and some of the promotions that they're doing, these people are getting rinsed. Most people are getting rinsed. And if you look at things like savings rate over the last, 10 years, a lot of the declines, whether you think we're in a recession or not, can be correlated with mainstream sports gambling.
Interesting. So you've given us a lot to sit with here, Badger Bloody. So I agree with you, and good luck on your bets. I think a lot of gamblers who have just quietly done it and made money for a long time are like, oh, good. Now I get together with my friends and they get to tell me about their parlay for an hour. I have no problem with gambling. Just do it on your own time. And then when something like this happens, it's like, okay, well, now it's my issue. Now it's my problem. And I don't want to deal with it. Okay. And if I had mountains of money and lots of free time, then I'm sure that I'd play a little bit. I also know myself. I have a little bit of an addictive personality. I'm like, I don't think I would be a gambling addict because I hate losing money. And I've been to Vegas, played blackjack a couple of times. Again, there's a ritual there. I went with friends, right? We were there for a reason. Well, I was there for a week. I was there for a week with Bill. But it's like we're going to go to a table and we're going to smoke a cigar and there's a ritual and it's fun. I don't think I would get addicted to gambling. You just never know. I don't really want to open up that bag of chips. Mike Clemens is going to be here at 5:35. Maybe we could talk about the millions that he's won in offshore sports betting over the years. We probably have a story about it. Yeah, I was betting with Frank Sinatra Jr. back in the 90s. Oh, okay, there it is. If there's a caller on hold, I promise I'll get to you on the other side of the break if you can wait. Otherwise, tomorrow, Mike Clemens in 15 minutes, though, and I don't want to be late for him.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
They're really soft up the middle. If there's a game to establish the run, it is one. That's been an Achilles heel for the Steelers for a lot of the season. They get punched in the mouth and just like right up the gut. That's, if you can do that, you just keep doing it. And that's what teams have done to the Steelers. And then their corners are kind of grabby, pass interference, boom or bust sort of guys on the outside that can really be exposed. I mean, they are not pure cover guys there anymore. Jalen Ramsey's just not anymore. So they rely on trying to make big plays and trying to get big sacks. And some days, some weeks those come, some weeks they don't. And the Packers, historically, I feel like Zach Tom is the kind of guy that can handle a TJ Watt. He has before. I think they usually have good plans for teams that have those type of edge rushers. So I like the Packers matchup in this one.
Mike Renner last night, when asked about the Steelers defense, soft up the middle, good game to establish the run. I like that. And not because I want the Packers to hand the ball off 30 times. I just think in my mind's eye, and my mind might be stupid, maybe I'm wrong, but the way that I'm seeing this team is their inability to consistently get push in the running game hasn't neutered their ability to throw the ball. They're still explosive. They're still doing, I think it's hurt their ability to like reach a consistent cruise control. Like they're a little feast or famine on offense because they don't really have an intermediate passing game. They have a deep passing game and they have a screen game. So when they don't have anything in the middle, when you're not picking up 6-7 yards and you can't run the football, you're either hitting huge plays and scoring or you're not doing anything. And I think Matt LaFleur has even mentioned in the last 2 weeks, about his offense and the way that he's called plays and how teams are defending him. He's spoken to the idea that, we want to hunt big plays, but we also need to realize that, if teams are going to force us to throw underneath, we sometimes need to take those opportunities. So that's something that's been on his mind. I don't need them to completely and totally reinvent the way they're distributing passes and, average depth of target, that sort of thing. They just need some more freebies. And if it's not going to come in the passing game, fine, but then it's got to come in the running game. Like you need more 5 or 6 yard runs, fewer 2-yard runs on 1st and 10. And the Steelers might just be the opponent to kind of start to do that because they're so soft in the middle. They have edge rushers and they can force takeaways, but down to down, play to play, drive to drive, you should be able to move the ball on them. And I also think you can make big plays on their corners too, especially with the speed of Matthew Golden. And if Watson plays, we'll see. I just think as you just heard from Mike Renner, they're grabby, they jump routes, but they're not consistent in the way they cover. And I think Pittsburgh bottom 3rd in both EPA allowed per pass and with the rush. Couple of texts here, 608-321-1670. AJ in Janesville says, first out of the break after that discussion was bet $5, get 300 in bonus bets with DraftKings. It may be. I don't hear any of the commercials even on our flagship WOZN. I can see them, I guess. But I normally listen to music over the commercial break. Cone Roller says, the devil is in our pocket, Grant. Yeah, that's true in lots of different ways. Lots of different ways. GWP Dad says, I went to Vegas one time in my life and I came home with shingles. That's all betting affects me and I hate losing money. The only time that I gambled in Vegas, I guess it's been twice. I've been there twice. Went there for the Super Bowl and I went and played blackjack with Eric Eager, who at the time was working at Sumer Sports. Now he's with the Carolina Panthers, very successful, but he's been on the show a bunch, taught at UWL, love Eric. And he's like, I'm going to show you how to play blackjack. Very smart. And I won like $80, But now also talking about things getting worse, more expensive. You go to Vegas, the tables are also GD expensive. Got to sit down. I don't know like what the minimum hands are, but the last couple of times I've gone, it's like, I'm going to lose all my money in like 2 minutes. No, I'm not going to get another 100 out. Like if 100 is gone in 30 seconds, I'm not staying in this casino. That's a bad idea. That's just a bad plan. So if I'm in Vegas for one reason or another, let me sit by the pool or go to the Sphere. Sphere is the balls. If I could play blackjack for $5 a hand or $10 a hand, then sure, I'll spend an hour doing it. But once my money runs out, like that's curtains for me. That's once that's gone, there ain't no more. Johnny Cribbage says, why Pato Sports Gamble, not the Dells? I don't know, man. It's about a horse apiece from Madison. I just frame of reference. I support our casinos in Wisconsin, Dells as well. I saw Nitty Gritty Dirt Band was playing there not that long ago. I kind of wish I would have gone. Not at the casino. I think they were at the Crystal Palace or something, like right off of exit. Is that 89? I think 87, 89. Who cares? No one needs the exact exit. Mike Clemens is going to join us on the other side of the break. Let's just break. This is a good spot to break. We've started to talk about exits. Good natural pausing point. Mike Clemens is going to join us next. He was on a Zoom with Aaron Rodgers today, so we'll hear about that and everything else that's been going on in Green Bay.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Man, it's just life in the National Football League. It's what I probably enjoy most about it. Each week, man, there's something to get really fired up about. Got a lot of respect for that organization historically. I got a lot of respect for that organization present day with their collection of leadership and players and so forth. And so we've been in some big games with them. I'd imagine this was not going to be any different. It's exciting. It's the NFL.
Mike Tomlin, slightly different verse, but I think kind of sounds like the same song that we've heard from Matt LaFleur. This is classic NFL coach, right? Well, this isn't about Rodgers and the Packers. This is about the Packers and the Steelers. And Mike Clemens joins us now, thanks to the Bay Motel in Green Bay. And Mike, these are always the situations where you guys in these press conferences you're always told, well, that's for you guys, right? That's for your story. That's kind of the message you guys always get during the week when there's matchups or when there's big games or history on the line, like there will be this Sunday.
Yeah, and then you get in the locker room and you talk to the players, and after they kind of settle down, they go on and on and on about the stories. And it's because it's just the way Aaron Rodgers has carried himself, all of his accomplishments, all of his big moments, all the details that are there. Sometimes he makes things kind of complicated, but it's an unbelievable storyline. So first of all, I'll just get right to, today's news, and that's Devontae Wyatt, who really came on at the start of this season in terms of stopping the run and putting pressure on the quarterback from the inside. Now, he's been out a couple of weeks now with a knee injury. Looks like he's limited in practice, so maybe they get him back. And even as Jeff Hafley, the Packers defensive coordinator, told us about 45 minutes ago, he said, first you would take away TJ Slayton from me, then you trade away, Kenny Clark, and, I need this help on the defensive line. And while Carl Brooks and Colby wouldn't have done a nice job, Devontae Wyatt has really stepped up for them. I think the way the camp that he was having and the start of the season made that, them feel a little bit better about having to trade away Kenny Clark to Jerry Jones and the Cowboys. They call him Heavy D, by the way. Devontae Wyatt, now to be known as the Heavy D. Josh Jacobs, who played in that game against the Cardinals despite a calf muscle strain, and played well in two unbelievable hard charges to score touchdowns. We've talked to him more about how about the third quarter they were going to try and bench him, and he said, no, you're not. This is too close of a game. Put me out there. And he ends up scoring the winning touchdown. I saw him in some gassers today during warm-up. It looked okay to me, but he's still on there. And
okay or normal? What do you mean by okay? Was there any sort of hesitancy?
I give it a B. I give it a B plus.
Okay, all right, that's pretty darn good. All right.
Yeah, I give it a B plus. So that's kind of hit or miss. He'll be determined to be on that field on Sunday Night Football against the Steelers. But gosh, that guy, he is just gold. It's all legit. He is so motivated. He's such a positive person, and I see him, off to the side, then swearing and having fun with the teammates and everything. He's really something. He's really quite the leader. Jordan Morgan took over at right guard this week against the Cardinals, and Sean Ryan kind of got shelved. And Sean did an interview with Rob Reichel at sports@forbes.com.
Yep.
That you should read, where Sean Ryan said, "Yeah, fourth year looks like I won't be back," and that's gonna. I don't know how that's gonna play upstairs, but he's right. You know, I mean, he's right, because Matt LaFleur said over and over again, Jordan Morgan's a starter for us at some point. So they have so much, they're putting so much faith and backing up their first round draft pick from last year, who missed all of last year. So that's the stories there. Mike Tomlin, head coach of the Steelers, and I think every time you watch a Steelers game, what do they say? Guys, never had a losing season. Never had a losing season. That's true. But I mean, my gosh, 19 years as an NFL head coach. How does he done that? Well, the Rooney family's a great owner, right? They're great owners. And they tend to hire young coaches, and they've had 2 or 3 coaches like this that have had these tremendous long runs, so long as they won a Super Bowl or 2, or at least they got to a Super Bowl. So Mike Tomlin, this guy, I just, I zoomed in on one of his press conferences. He went almost an hour. And the first 15, you can just see how organized and detailed this guy's to-do list. And he shares it with the media. And that's where you understand that leadership. So here's his breakdown on hosting Green Bay on Sunday Night Football after that close loss that they had on Thursday Night Football last week in Cincinnati to the Bengals.
We're really excited about Sunday Night Football and Acrisure versus Green Bay. As I mentioned after the game, a couple, building blocks of the engineering of victory, man, that we didn't take care of, and I think that's why the game unfolded the way that it did. We got to stop the run more effectively. We feel like that's a building block for us to play good defense, to get offenses in more one-dimensional passing circumstances, to get people in more advantageous possession down circumstances for us. Our inability to stop the run, I think, created that, and that was an issue for us. It really started kind of in the second quarter when Brown popped a couple of runs, and it kind of went on from there. It never felt like we had an opportunity to stabilize that component of the game. We had been trending the right way in that space for a number of weeks, but certainly last week was a setback in that area, and I really think it created an environment where we weren't controlling the game from that perspective. I think the same could be said on the offensive side. We turned the ball over twice, and really that hadn't been us. We've been really good at protecting and preserving the football, but if you get a couple turnovers and you're not stopping the run, that's just not a good posture to play from. We certainly didn't take the ball away, and so to be -2 in a hostile place while not stopping the run, man, is kind of a catalyst for losing.
Mike Clemens is here thanks to the Bay Motel in Green Bay. I had Mike Renner on last night, and we were talking about some of the different matchups or the different details in this game. Pittsburgh's soft in the middle, Mike. They can't stop the run, and Tomlin's describing that as the problem. Like, we can defend a pass here and there. We can get a sack here and there, but if the team is always getting chunk runs up the middle, it really makes it hard to find their footing. It might line up pretty well for the Packers. They've started to find their running game just a little bit these last few weeks. I'm interested to see if that's an angle and the problem that Mike Tomlin was describing there. I'm interested to see if that's something the Packers can take advantage of on Sunday. They should be able to.
Mike Renner was right, and I heard part of that interview in the car leaving the facility on your show last night. And, even Tomlin backed that up. And Tomlin went on later, too, about so then turn that around, and now you got to face Josh Jacobs. Mm-hmm. This guy is hot right now. Is the Packers offensive line ready to get up to that, though, to pass protect Jordan Love, to deal with TJ Watt and the pass rush that they have, and they still got Jalen Ramsey back there at corner. But, people have the Jets put over 30 points on them. And the only way that the Steelers won week 1 was on a 60-yard field goal. It wasn't Aaron Rodgers. It was complimentary football, if you will. So then they did the next 3 or 4 weeks. They did a pretty good job of keeping their opponents to 20 points or less. Then the Bengals and Joe Flacco, who'd been there 9-10 days after beating the Packers, playing the Packers, managed to pull off a win against the Steelers team. So they've got the Steelers going pretty good though with Aaron Rodgers in there. And so today I asked LaFleur, he must study some of these coaches, right? Like a Belichick or a Mike Tomlin. Do you get to know this guy? And how's Mike Tomlin been able to what does he do as the head coach of the Steelers to go there 19 years in a row?
I wish we all knew the secret sauce, because he's been the model of consistency, and he's used a lot of different people to do it. I know for a long time, obviously, and it's not just about the quarterback. Obviously, they played really high-level defense for many years, and that has stayed constant to this day. But when you look at, the post-Ben era, when there's been some musical chairs a little bit at quarterback, they still find a way to get it done. So I think that speaks just to the level that he is able to prepare his team to get ready to go out there and play winning football.
Mike, I think that's the sign of a really good coach, is you are employed long enough to lose coordinators and replace them, to maybe lose your quarterback and replace them. And that's why I think this year for not Ben Johnson, but Dan Campbell is so interesting. People are like, well, they lost Ben Johnson. Well, we forget, Mike, a lot of coaches can get a job, good situation, hire the right coordinators. When those guys leave to take jobs, can you replace them? Can you build something that endures through multiple configurations? And I think Tomlin, while they maybe haven't been in the Super Bowl every year, he's shown that he can do that. That's kind of what Matt LaFleur was saying there.
Look how good the Rams are. Look how many Sean McVay assistants are now head coaches.
Yeah, the Niners too, with their DCs. Yeah.
So you're, if you're Sean McVay, one of these guys, you've always get a depth chart when it comes to your coordinators and your coaches. You're always thinking ahead, and you want to turn that around. And obviously, Dan Campbell seems to be on his way to do that because he's got his Detroit Lions up and running pretty good. Then there's Arthur Smith. So, you got this Matt LaFleur comes up through the Texans, quarterback coach for the Falcons. They go to the Super Bowl, but they fall short in the fourth quarter to Tom Brady and the Patriots. And then he gets an offensive coordinator job with the Titans. There was also, a cup of coffee there with the Rams, but this way now he gets to be a play caller for 1 year with Marcus Mariota, and Mark Murphy sees that tape, and that's the guy that he hires to replace Mike McCarthy. Well, his assistant was Arthur Smith, and then Arthur goes from OC of the Titans to getting a head coach job with the Falcons.
Yeah.
He beats LaFleur and the Packers when we were down there in Georgia.
Is that week
in his
2
first year
or week 3,
Yeah.
something like that, real early?
Yeah, and Robinson, the running back, had a really good day that day. They couldn't stop that. And Jordan Love, kind of fell apart in the second half of that game. So I asked Matt about, this Steelers offensive coordinator who's got Aaron Rodgers looking pretty good, right? At 4-2, about Arthur Smith, his old buddy, and Rodgers playing well again at the age of 41.
I think Arthur does a great job. He whether it was in Tennessee or in Atlanta, he knows how to use players and put them in the best position possible. So I think what you've seen from him is just the flexibility. I mean, I worked with Art. I've got so much respect for how he approaches the game, the work that he puts in, his football mind, and just putting players in a great position to go out there and be successful. And he can do it using a lot of different personnel groupings and putting guys in different spots. And then certainly he's going to play to the strengths of the quarterback.
Got to turn my mic on. Mike Clemens here. Thanks to the Bay Motel in Green Bay. Mike, I know you talked to Rodgers today, and we'll hear from him next. And that'll be a big story probably on Bill's show tomorrow as we dig into some of that audio. But I think Rodgers is at the age now, and he's reached a point where maybe he's a little less concerned with his OC or with the scheme. I think from what I've heard and seen, he's willing to get along. All right, here's what Arthur Smith wants to do. All right, I might have my preferences, but I'm going to wrap my arms around this thing. And that match has actually worked a lot better than maybe I would have guessed, knowing what we know about Rodgers and what he likes and what Arthur Smith has liked. And I think it's actually been a pretty cool season, the way that Rodgers has settled in and maybe embraced or accepted some things when he was younger, and we can all relate to that, maybe he wouldn't have.
Well, he found out that the Jets, in fact, are a dysfunctional organization.
Yeah, right.
And it goes deeper than he ever could have imagined.
He said something, he mentioned that, hey, I grew up in Green Bay. And I started to think about that because we all think, well, these athletes are drafted. They're grown men. And I guess physically they are. But at age 21, you've lived in California or somewhere around there your whole life. You're plopped in Green Bay. Mike, you're a kid at 21. So he was born and raised in Green Bay for a long time. That's all he knew. That was his football frame of reference. So yeah, a couple of years at that clown car in New York probably gives you a deeper appreciation, a little perspective for how certain franchises run it.
The day after he got drafted in New York, they flew him here. He held up his 12 jersey, standing next to Ted Thompson, and he went and he talked to Bill Michaels from the Packers Radio Network and
Yep.
Mike Clemens.
Yep.
Okay?
Welcome to town.
Yeah. and that's how I got to know Aaron. He was a 21-year-old kid, and we were talking more about his high school career because there wasn't much else to talk about in terms of Cal. But so I decided instead of going heavy and stuff, one thing I never had a chance to ask him before he got out the door. One day, about the end of the pandemic and how dreary all that was, there was a woman driving her car down McCarthy Way, and she was going to turn onto Oneida across the street from Lambeau Field and between the Hudson Center. And some of the players must have been having a workout. This is like in February of 2021. And there's this red pickup truck, and here's some dude with a winter cap on, and he holds up a case of beer, and it's Aaron Rodgers. Your $20 million a year quarterback, the MVP of the National Football League, and he's carrying a big old case of beer.
Dang straight.
And so I took that photo and I posted it, and it went viral.
Mm-hmm.
I checked back in about an hour, it had over 1 million hits. And so I talked to him about that today, like what was going on that day?
Okay, next up, Mike Clemens from Wisconsin Radio Network.
Get unmuted, Mike.
I was listening to your comments yesterday and the good times you had in Green Bay, and all I could think of was that here you are, the MVP. It's like 21, and you're in the back of a red pickup truck with your teammates crossing Oneida, holding up a case of beer. And I retweeted that. It got over 1 million hits of all the things you've accomplished.
Oh, congrats for that.
I mean, what was happening that day, and talk about some of those times that maybe weren't so public.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember exactly whose vehicle that was, but there was like a bunch of cases of beer in the back. So, you guys would always take that walk back, and whether I was riding in the back of a truck or riding on that silly golf cart that D-Bot gave me, we were always messing around, having a good time. Those are some of the most fun. I mean, going way back, we had a crazy crew. I mean, some of the shenanigans and pranks that me and Brett Good pulled on some of the rookies over at St. Norbert's, the constant battle between Flynn and Graham and TJ Lang and Josh Sitton, what they would do on the road. It got so crazy, some of the pranks they were pulling, that Mike at one point said, cut that shit out, no more of that stuff, because they were doing some wild stuff. But it's that stuff that I remember, the plane flights. There was a time back then we used to fly on a plane at 8 first class seats, and that was like, Ted, Bob Harlan into Mark and the brass and a couple of coaches, and all of us were in the 3x3 seats in the back. And we had this thing for a while where people just start throwing pillows and blankets at each other, like when the plane was landing. Guys that were sleeping, if you were sleeping. Larry McCarron can probably attest to this, because he was always sitting like in a row in front of me, and there'd be guys like flinging the wrapped up blankets and rolling them up into pillows at people and waking. There's always like some of the media was in front of us, and PR and community relations. They'd all be on the same plane, and they were catching strays on the plane sometimes. So those things are great. It's like it was such a tight knit group for so long there. I outlasted most of them, but it's fun. That's why I feel so good about my time there, because damn near everything great in my life is because of my football career. My football career starts and will end one day with Green Bay. So I got a lot of love for all those memories and a lot of great friends that I still carry with me to this day.
That's a cool story. You forget these guys they're mostly kids, Mike. You know what I mean? Like, they're just a bunch of dumb guys hanging out with each other. Like, it's actually very relatable. He's 21. He gets to Green Bay. So when he says, I grew up in Green Bay, we think these guys, when they're drafted, they're grown men. They're not really. They're mostly kids dicking around with each other.
Do you remember him saying just a couple times, like on McAfee, like, the team that drinks together wins together?
Yeah.
So
well, it's easier to do that in Green Bay because, who else are you going to hang out with? You're not going down to downtown Atlanta or out on the strip in Vegas. You're hanging out together.
But for Aaron, when he's 24 or 25, and occasionally these guys go out and get some beers, and they're the pals. Fast forward, now you're 36, you're 37. You're on your third generation of roster, and you don't really go drinking with these guys.
Yeah.
They're different. And that's when you say, and then your replacement is doing fine. And yesterday he admitted when Jordan Love had those 10 plays in an Eagles game, and everyone went, hello. It was just like him in Dallas when Favre went down, and everyone was saying about Rodgers, like, this guy is ready. And that's when he decided, somewhere in that darkness retreat, maybe I'm better off someplace else. Maybe the Jets have got a great defense, and they got this, they got that, and I get Nate Hackett, and yada, 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 and that's the rest of the story. The same thing. For whatever reason, Aaron decided to see this through the prism of the same thing that happened to Brett is now happening to me. That's the way he decided to choose it. That's why we're here today.
Well, really looking forward to Sunday night. It should be a great game with lots of cool stories and excellent TV product. Mike, appreciate your time. We'll hear from you for the final time this week on Bill's Show tomorrow.
Thank you, Grant.
Mike Clemens, and I dug up that picture. You can see it on the live stream. I threw it up on the simulcast. It is a pretty hilarious picture. It looks like Miller or Bud Light. It's blue case. It's a funny picture, man. We'll wrap things up, turn things over to Ebo and Zach for Thorson and Heilper next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Zone Blitz pregame bash is back. Every Wisconsin home game 2 hours before kickoff at the Blue Moon Bar and Grill. And this year, do I have something special for you? It's a perfect snack for game day or any day. Wenzel's Farm Pro Snack Sticks. Come see me and I'll hand you 16 grams of protein to fuel you through the day. Wenzel's Farm offers that and so much more, crafted in small batches using premium cuts of meat, perfectly seasoned, and naturally hardwood smoke. Check out wenzelsfarm.com. Made by pros for pros.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Last couple of minutes, let's say hello to our friends Thorson and Heilprin, like Statler and Waldorf. They're getting ready at Monks and Sun Prairie. Gentlemen, are you there?
Grant Bills, you are handsome. I love you.
Love you as well, Ebo. I think you're handsome too. Zach, I'm a big fan of your work. I will see you guys soon.
Huge fan of yours. Yes, can't wait for you, Grant.
Very excited.
Grant, I'll buy your beer.
Will you have a beer ready? You don't need to buy it. I'll pay you.
Yes. Yeah, what do you want? What do you want?
No, I will buy your beer.
Well, what do you want, Grant?
Miller Lite sounds delicious.
All right.
All right, done.
We'll get you.
Sold.
It's going to be cold and waiting for you.
All right.
And wet.
I'll see you. All right. I'll see you guys in a bit. Unless, of course, we are contractually or sponsorly. Unless I should be drinking something else. Get me whatever I should be drinking. And if not, I'll have a Miller Lite. Talk to you guys tomorrow. Never miss a Friday show. Thank you for listening.